Well, hello, welcome to our continuing devotional. We're winding down now in the book of Colossians. We're going to be looking at today at Colossians chapter 4, verses 2 through 6. And then we will skip verses 7 all the way to the end of the chapter because basically that's just Paul signing off, uh, sending greetings to various people that he knew personally. And it's not the kind of material that fits well into a devotional type of study. So let's look at verse 2. Chapter 4 says this: continue steadfastly in prayer, being watchful in it with thanksgiving, and at the same time pray also for us, that God may open to us a door for the word and to declare the mystery of Christ, on account of which I am in prison, that I may make it clear, which is how I ought to speak. So the first thing Paul says here is, I don't want you just to pray, but to continue to pray and to do so steadfastly. That's always the challenge. All of us pray. Some emergency comes up, some need comes up, and we pray. But what should be a pattern for the Christian life is continuing regular, steadfast prayer, not just emergency prayer, not just need prayer, but every day we're praying to the Lord, crying out to Him, depending on Him, and seeking His will and His glory, while at the same time every day giving thanksgiving. That's why He says, continue in prayer, be watchful in it, and do so with thanksgiving. We always have something to thank God for. And he says, when you pray, don't just pray about yourself, but pray for the ministry, pray for the missionaries, pray for the evangelists, pray for the persecuted Christian. That's why Paul says, pray for us, that God may open doors, that He'll give us the boldness to declare the truth, that He will help us to make it clear. So when you're praying, yeah, it's okay to pray for yourself. It's okay to pray for your family. In fact, it's something God commands us to do. He's pleased when we do that. But don't just make it about our own little circle. There's a whole world out there and that needs Christ. And there are a lot of people striving to serve Him, and we need to be supporting them with our prayers. So make sure you're praying beyond your own little circle, and you're being steadfast and consistent and watchful and thankful in those prayers. And then in verses 5 and 6, he says this: walk in wisdom toward outsiders, those who are not Christians, making the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. He says, okay, first you talk to God, that's prayer. But then when you talk with others who are not Christians, don't waste that opportunity by either not speaking up about God, or more likely by speaking about God but in the wrong way. Sometimes you can share truth, but share it in such a way that people don't hear it, that they're less inclined to hear it. That's not gracious. It's mean-spirited. It's self-righteous. It's haughty. It's not thought out properly. He says, make the best use of these opportunities you have. They're very limited. So let your speech, he says in verse 6 there, be gracious, seasoned with salt, mean flavorful. It means preserving. It means helpful. So you may know how you ought to answer each person, because people want to know, what's going on in your life. Why are you like this? Why do you think like this? And we can become very defensive, or we can become very aggressive, and neither of those are necessarily helpful. We need to be loving, but speaking the truth, not compromising, not succumbing to the pressures in the world, but also not succumbing to the flesh that wants to kind of fight back and get angry and let arrogance and hostility show forth. Let your walk in wisdom toward outsiders. Make the best use of those opportunities. Let your speech be seasoned with salt. Be gracious so you can respond in truth, but also in love at the same time. So that concludes our devotional through Colossians, but we'll be doing other devotionals. Just look for those on Facebook. I hope you have found this to be helpful. Have a blessed day.